Hi everyone and welcome to part 2 of my puff pastry series. Today I'm showing you how to make a St Honore, which is a classic French dessert that has so many different components, but bear with me, I'm going to walk you through each of those. Some of them I've already made videos for with detailed instructions, so I'm going to link those guys in the description box and you can check that out at your own pace and in your own time. But for the sake of keeping this video short, I'm only gonna show you a quick recap on how to build those components. What I'm showing you right here is the creme diplomat, which is one of my favorite recipes, which you can find in my channel. So please check that video out if you need some tips on how to master the technique. But essentially, we're just building a custard, a vanilla custard, that is very stable by adding some gelatin here and a little bit of butter, and this will create a very nice and pipeable consistency, which is what we want for this dessert, because we're gonna make some profiteroles later. We're gonna fill those with this beautiful cream, and also we'll use it as a bit of a filling for the overall Saint Honore. So yeah, this is pretty much a custard at this point. We have to chill that before we can do anything with it. And what's amazing about this custard is that it's not just that, but we add some cream to this, some whipped cream, which makes it a lot lighter. So that was the first component. Let's move on to the second component, which is the choux pastry. And you know me, I have this tendency to try to go back to basics with each of these very important techniques. So choux is a very interesting and versatile recipe, and I have a series devoted to that. So again, the link to the detailed instructions and tips and tricks is in the description box. So if you've never made choux pastry before, I highly suggest that you check out my series on how to master this recipe. So for piping this, I'm using a round tip, and I'm trying to get about 3 centimeter balls in diameter. So they are a bit smaller than your usual profiteroles or cream puffs. And you know that they are ready when you see that they have a light golden brown color, and when you cut into them, once they've cooled, they should be nice and hollow and ready for that cream diplomat. Now on to the third component, a very simple whipped cream, only 3 ingredients: sugar, vanilla, and of course whipping cream. And this is the star of the show. This is the St Honore piping tip. I actually have 2 different sizes. It really depends on the size of your dessert, which one you go for. And of course, it's not the end of the world if you don't have this piping tip, but this is the classic signature of a St Honore. Now, one little trick here that I'm showing you is to twist the piping bag into the nozzle so that you don't risk any of the filling spilling out as you pour it into the bag. So there's a little trick for you. And this is my whipped cream. I just whipped it with a hand mixer, added a tablespoon of sugar or so. I kind of tend to just do that to my liking, and the same goes for the vanilla. I just whip it and taste it as I go. So this is completely up to you how much sugar and vanilla you'd like to use. So the whipped cream, I do recommend that you make on the same day that you're planning on building the dessert, because that will ensure that it's nice and airy. Now for the fourth component, and the reason for the second episode of this series, this is the puff pastry that I've been talking about on episode 1. So I'm gonna use this for this dessert, and I'm gonna cut a circle out of this pastry. And I've gotten some comments on some of my videos regarding these pastry strips for rolling out dough, and they're absolutely brilliant. I do recommend that you buy them because it ensures that you get an evenly rolled dough every single time. They come in different sizes, so they're really flexible, and I am using them all the time. I couldn't recommend them enough. The ones I have are from silicone, but they also have some plastic ones and wooden ones as well. So back to this video recipe. So I've cut out my circle here, and I'm gonna keep this in the fridge before I bake it. But essentially this is gonna be the base of the St Honore. And that is what it looks like after it comes out of the oven. I've put the baking instructions in the text, so please go back and check those out. And on to my fifth and final component here, caramel. So I have some sugar and a tiny bit of water just to help it out. And I'm gonna cook this until it's a light amber color. And we're gonna move quickly at this point. While that's cooking, I prepare all my profiteroles. These are still not filled because I want to do the caramel part first. And I'm preparing everything for that step. So a little trick here, if you have one of these semi-sphere silicone molds, that is a great tool for ensuring that you get a beautifully round top on your profiteroles, because that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to take the top part of the profiteroles, dip them in the caramel, and let that set. So you can either do this, if you're brave enough, by hand, or you can just take these kind of cooking tweezers, and that can help you kind of hold the profiterole in place. Just get a really thin layer of caramel and let that set. And if you have the silicone mold, as I have here, you can just dip the top directly in the cavity. You have to work quickly because the caramel is cooling, and as it cools, it's beginning to harden. You can try to keep it alive a bit longer, but remember, the more you cook it, the darker the color of the caramel. So here we are. Once the caramel sets and they're not super hot from the caramel, then I like to fill them with the creme diplomat. And I do suggest that you do this in that order, because I've tried filling them before doing the caramel step, and let's just say that the filling was melting and it was a bit of a mess. So try to do the caramel thing first so that you have a nice and cool profiterole to work with. These can go in the fridge, or if you're fast enough, you can just pop them aside while you prepare the base of the St Honore. So we have our puff pastry as base. You can use a little bit of the creme diplomat to keep it on the plate. And then I'm just taking the remaining creme diplomat. I'm just free pouring on top and evening out all that cream. I'm not adding a huge layer, but it's just, I would say, to your taste. Now you take all these profiteroles and try to space them out evenly, leaving about 1 centimeter in between. And that is because in that little gap, we're gonna pipe with our special tip, we're gonna pipe some whipped cream. You can see that the cream is nice and stiff. That's important. And that's why I suggest that you make your whipped cream on the same day. And you just do this pushing motion with the piping tip, and then you pull back, push slightly, pull back. I'm not perfect at this, but to me this is kind of a freestyle dessert. The classic design is to have all of these little dollops pointing towards the center, and then you finish it off with your best looking profiterole, which is what I call the cherry on top. And this is ready to be eaten. You can just go ahead and serve this. You can keep it in the fridge until you're ready to serve, but I do recommend that you eat it on the same day, because those fillings might start to ooze out a little bit, and the whipped cream might start to also get a bit watery. And it does seem like a lot, but honestly, this is probably my top 3 favorite desserts of all time. It's light, it's delicious. This profiterole that has this creme brulee style layer is divine. You're gonna love this dessert. Thanks for watching. I hope you try it, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.